Good morning, and welcome to Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole, where we are rising in faith and thriving in purpose. Thank you for joining us today. I have a special guest who is my sister in Christ, and we are in a newer kingdom friendship, and I love it here with you, Courtney. So, this is our guest, Courtney Russell. She is just a dynamic individual, but more than anything, what I admire most about you is your commitment and that you show up and um you be living for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And I love it. But more about Courtney, for those of you that do not know her, she is a mother of a dynamic, blooming, a walking ray of sunshine, 17-year-old daughter. I love her so much, and she will let you know that she is a child of God first, right? That right there tells you about the character of my sister and how she is raising her daughter. But Courtney is also she has a big heart, she has deep faith, and she has a purpose for helping others while living in purpose. She's all about real conversations and finding the beauty in everyday life because it is indeed all around us. Rooted in her belief in God, she shares her journey of healing, personal growth, and the power of forgiveness. Thank you so much, Courtney, for coming and joining me today to have this beautiful and wonderful conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I was nervous, so.
That's all right. Girl, I'll be nervous every time, and people are nervous every time they come on. All of that melts away. And I want to thank you in advance for your vulnerability, right? Because forgiveness, I
Mm,
think this is a topic that everybody needs, we all can grow in. This is an area where
mhm.
we can all grow, and it's a evolving thing. It's always going. I think we can always dig deeper into our forgiveness bags,
Yes,
depending on what we face in life.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so many people associate forgiveness with weakness, right? Or somehow that you agree with the behavior or whatever has happened. But thinking about it or thinking about it in a way where it's like it's giving them an excuse, it's giving the person an out. It's invalidating the experience of the harm that the person that has had that who needs to forgive. Like you're allowing the person who inflicted the harm to get away with it, right? But true
Mm,
forgiveness is actually an act of strength. And it's about freedom. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of resentment, anger, and pain. And in this episode, we're going to explore what real forgiveness looks like, how to move forward without bitterness, and why releasing the past is one of the greatest gifts and acts of self love, as well as spiritual growth that we can give to ourselves.
yeah.
So, Courtney, what does forgiveness mean to you? And I know we get some good nourishment every Sunday. And I don't remember how many months back we talked about forgiveness, right? Or it
Hmm.
was part of the sermon. But what is forgiveness to you? Like, what does that mean and what does it not mean?
I think like forgiveness for me means like freedom, like freeing myself though. I think that's what I'm learning as I'm like continuing through my journey with forgiveness, that it's a freedom that can give to myself. And what it isn't is someone else's cage for me.
Oh, Lordy,
So
you coming out swinging. Okay.
I think like but these are all things I'm just learning as I'm growing in my forgiveness journey, because I feel like for so long I struggled with forgiveness and still do, because I go back to that mindset of like the other person they have to pay, they have to give something in order for me to be free. But that's what I mean by it's not their cage for me. It's my freedom to give myself. Like, and I understand more why we're taught that it's like forgiveness is for you.
Yes.
It's not for the other person.
Yeah.
But when we give them the power, that's in the way, and they're not even half the time, it's not them using it. It's just us in how we look at forgiveness,
Mhm.
giving them the power to cage us. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Courtney, what I hear you saying is about the experience of injustice.
Hmm.
Right. So when we want to see the people punished, right? But we also
Right.
know that the Bible says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. We don't always get to see what that spiritual payback look like.
Right.
We don't. We don't get to always see it. Sometimes we
And that's the struggle.
mm-hmm. Yes. And letting God because
Hmm.
he says he's going to do it, but just like it's also a way to get distracted from what needs to happen. And sometimes that's our healing, right? Heal from that. And sometimes we think we need to see this person harmed and hurt like we do. Like, I think as
Yeah.
human beings, it's in our nature to feel like they need to pay for this. I need them to
Yeah.
feel the way that I feel. I need to see it. It needs to be
Yep.
tangible, and then I can be okay. But how many people have actually carried out vengeance on their own and then still
Hmm.
feel like trash? It's still not done.
Yep.
They still stuck and it's years later, right?
Yep.
But in the moment, we really be believing like that's what we need, like to
No,
get it
yeah, because
better.
it's like there's like a fairness. It's like, oh, it's only fair. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that's what vindication is. It's me seeing that, like seeing them pay for it. You know what I mean? And that is a lot of like the struggle for me personally is like not knowing, or seeing like I felt like this person did an injustice to me and then I see them thriving. And it's like, how? You know?
Hey, what?
Dang.
And I don't know if there's a specific example because I think sometimes we be so mad we just see them doing well, we think that's thriving, or they don't
Yes,
look like they
no,
struggling.
yeah,
And it's like you have no idea what happened after that, or they finished
yeah,
they figure off that record button
yeah,
or hit
exactly.
stop, right? Like pure chaos. Or we don't know what they did, but that's also interpretation. And a lot of people, if they're publicly showing that, a lot of the times those
Hmm.
are the people that are actually struggling because they're trying to
Yeah,
put forth to compensate to hide what's really going on.
yeah.
And something else that you said about it being freedom, 100% agree. I don't remember where I heard it, who said it, and it's floating around in different variations of it, but unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the
Hmm.
other person to. And like you said, the offense has been committed, they moved on, and sometimes we're
Hmm.
stuck, right?
Yeah,
And they moved on to their next victim. They perpetrating their next act that's gonna require forgiveness, but we're stuck.
right.
We do have the ability to give it to ourselves, and so it does take like working through that, right? So
Mhm.
what about forgiveness when there's actually room for reconciliation? So like what do you think is like the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation? And how do those things they go together
Ooh, I don't know that I've ever thought about how they could go together
or don't go together?
per se. Yeah, I think because I feel like no, I guess I can't. I could see like forgiveness and reconciliation going together because it's like if the forgiveness is given in a situation and then you can get back to where you were.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like things can go back in that relationship or that situation, whatever. It's like things can go back to how they were before. So that's like a reconciliation, which I think is the part of forgiveness I think that hurts sometimes the most is like when it's like you have to forgive, but there is no reconciliation per se. Like there is no going back to what it used to be. It's like you have to forgive and then they go their way, you go your way. But all those feelings are still there. All that love is still there. You know what I mean? Whatever it may be, all of that is still there. So it's like walking forward in a different way. And it's like, because then you have to struggle with like releasing people, you know what I mean? And like not having those same like friendships or relationships or like even within a family, like having, breaks in relationships within your family. Like those things run deep emotionally. So I think that's the correlation. I think forgiveness, I think even in my unforgiveness, when I have so many emotions behind it, where it's hard for me to not forgive, I think the emotions are like the symptom of my unforgiveness. The fact that I'm not forgiving someone else, I'm not forgiving myself,
Yeah.
and so I think that's where all of that stuff arises. But I think underneath all of that is like, because I really do want it to be reconciled.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm hurting because, depending on what the offense is, it's like, we might not be able to come back from this. And it's like, and it's just, that's painful. That is painful.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so I think you hit so many really good points in there, right? Like forgiveness doesn't mean that reconciliation is automatic. Because that's what you
Mhm.
just said. Sometimes we can't come back from it. We cannot reconcile. I can forgive you. I can move
Mhm.
on. I can process what happened, but our relationship will never
It's
be the
different.
same.
Yeah.
And even or we no longer have a relationship, or
Yeah.
you shift people, we shift their access, right? Like
Yeah.
I used an example with a client. It ain't that holy, but I think the people look at it, right? Like when things like this happen, people have access to us. And if you think about this like at the club, right? Club
Mhm.
got VIP sections. They
Mhm.
have, like general admission area, and then, or you might have a seated area for like a reservation to. So if we think, okay, I'm going way too deep into this. And then you have like just standing room, right? So
Uh-huh.
when you think about the people that are closest to you, these are the people in your VIP section. They behind the velvet rope.
Yeah. Yep.
So now they got used to being in the velvet rope area and where they are and their position in your life. They got access to everything. And then they're sometimes inviting people into this section of your life,
Mhm.
right? But now
Yeah.
they've done something that you're like, you acting a whole fool.
Yeah.
You're embarrassing me. You're disrespecting other people in my life that I care for. I've given you warnings and you're continuing to do what you want to do. So what do you do? Do you allow that person to just stay in, or do you walk them out to general admission or gen pop? You know what I mean? And sometimes when because we're not always taught, or we're taught that forgiveness and reconciliation are synonymous, that they are the same thing. And so you're supposed to forgive. Oh, I thought you forgave them. Why ain't y'all talking? I did forgive. We just didn't like
Mhm.
reconcile. I've given this person all this access. I've given this person so many chances. Because after a while, then it turns into abuse.
Mhm.
And sometimes family is the main one that pushes this without recognizing that that's what they're doing. And they think that it's the same thing.
Yeah. And I think too, like sometimes with the reconciliation piece within families is like you're pushed to forgive and reconcile because it's family, but then there's also like the abuse part comes in because there's no changed behavior on their part.
Yep. And no
You know what I mean?
accountability.
Like, and no accountability. So then it's like you're constantly in this like cycle of like, oh, forgive and forget or forgive and move on,
Mhm.
and it's unhealthy because even though it's like, yes, like I have to take full ownership of like forgiveness and giving that, like, forgiving people. But then, like being in a situation where it's like, okay, now you have to be good with this person again. It's like, but that's not always like, that's not healthy all the time,
And it's not.
especially when there's no changed behavior. You know what I mean? Especially when but like you said, within families, a lot. Yes, that's just the gold standard.
And there's something, two pieces missing in there. Number one, they're likely coming to the person who has the more emotional intelligence, that
Hmm.
needs the least correction,
Yeah.
who's likely the most compliant and or willing to ask
Hmm.
them to do the forgiving or just go talk to them. You know,
Yep.
you to be the bigger person because
Be
you
the bigger
already are the
person.
bigger person, but it doesn't require this other person to grow. And then
Exactly.
two, a big part that's missing, we can forgive and forget, but don't nobody want to process. They skip the P in the middle, which is processing, to allow you to have your feelings, to validate you to say, that was really messed up what happened to you. And we don't get that. And if you're not
Yeah.
taught that, that's how people end up in abusive situations, and that, or we're being encouraged to take abuse and don't even realize that that's what we're doing and or being asked to do.
Yeah.
Girl.
No, yeah, for sure. Like that's definitely a thing, and I didn't even really like think about it in that way, but I could definitely see that, like how you kind of just start to let things like slide. It's like, okay, well, you start to tell yourself, I need to get over it.
Right.
Like you start to just be like, oh, you just got to get over it. Like you got to get over it. You got to move on, and
You
it's
gonna
like you don't even
validate
allow
yourself
yourself to process it. Yeah.
and your feelings.
Yeah.
You doing too much. You being a drama queen right now. Why you think you're so
Exactly.
sensitive? Because I am. That's how I was made. Because I got feelings, and so do you.
Yes. Yep.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Like, woo, girl, this forgiveness thing is. And we talked about this a little bit. Is there anything else you maybe would like to say about why forgiveness is for you and not the other person?
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty. I got there's plenty to say on that.
That there's
I think it is, but and so the thing is, like, I think it's not. This is some. I feel like my journey, at least with forgiveness, it's not. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it's not like a place I arrived to. Like, oh, I can forgive.
mhm,
I know how to forgive. Like, I don't feel like that's my personal journey with forgiveness. I feel like mine is fluid. Like, some days I'm there, some days I am not.
that's
Like,
so
some days
real.
it's like, forgiveness is like, okay, I think I worked through that good. But then other days it's not. And it really just depends on
Mhm.
what it is, what the offense is, you know what I mean? What the situation is, as far as like how I flow through forgiveness. But what I've realized is that the things that I feel like I struggle to forgive,
Mm,
I can't. It's like deeper traumas, but I'm not able to kind of just release them, like let them go like I should. The forgiveness being for you and not the other person. I think, like I said, I'm growing in my own journey with forgiveness. So I'm finding that the things that I'm struggling to forgive are like those bigger offenses. And depending on what it is, my forgiveness is not like a place I arrive to. And I'm okay with that. I think like for me, forgiveness won't be where it's like, I'm good. I don't need to forgive anything else. Like, or not even, I don't need to forgive, but whenever something happens, it's like, oh, I can forgive. Like, I
mm,
just know how to walk in this. And that's not my journey. I feel like some days I'm better at it than others. Some
yeah.
situations I can do it better than others. But the ones that are like deep offenses, like that have to do with like, abuse and abandonment and, even like, not just physical abuse, but like mental and emotional abuse.
Yes.
Like those things run deep. And so even though it's like years have
Mhm.
passed and I'm like, these are, what I mean? Like some people, it's like, oh, it's like 10 plus years for some of this stuff. And it's like, if something happens and I remember
Mhm.
something, it's like I can feel emotions. They might not be as strong,
Yeah.
but I can still feel these emotions that come along with it. And that's actually been like something that I've struggled with because I'm like, does it mean I'm not forgiving?
Mm.
Because I can say like, it is what it is. It's happened. I've moved on, but it's like, but why is it when I think of it or like something happens, I don't think of it all the time, but when it comes up, there's still something there. And some days I'm like, I can, say my prayer to myself, like, Lord, help me forgive and keep it
Mhm.
pushing. And then other days I got to say that about 4, 5, 6, 7 times throughout the day because I'm like, Lord, I'm
Yeah.
still struggling with this. So, but I
May I
think like,
offer something to
yeah,
add to that prayer?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because I think when that comes up, that shows that there's still more healing that needs to happen in that area. So, in
yeah,
addition to asking for help with forgiveness, ask for healing.
yeah.
Because, like, when we get triggered, because that's essentially
Hmm.
what you're describing, and we need a better word for that, given that what that's associated with.
Yeah,
When you maybe become dysregulated or some emotions come up that you're not expecting
yeah.
around a topic, that's an invitation for more healing. That's showing
Hmm.
you that there's still a wound there. That's like, when you think that you're all healed, but then or like say you get like a cut or something and it heals from the outside
Yeah,
and the inside out.
yeah,
You can get infected on the inside.
yeah, yeah.
Doesn't mean that the thing not healing as much as, or you know what I mean, there's more attention that's needed. There's something else
Hmm.
happening below the surface that needs attention. So I think it
Yeah.
is an invitation to heal.
No, yeah, for sure. No, I could definitely see that. And I think like that's why it's like that's my been my frustration with with the forgiveness part.
Mm.
And I think it's because I feel like, it's like, oh no, I should get to a point as with some of these things, I should get to a point where it's like, I'm good,
So if
but I
you're
think like
not,
some things,
yeah,
they just run deep. And I think I'm accepting that it's going to be a healing process, maybe for some years and years and years more. But
yeah.
I think the key for me is to just, I've learned I have to give it to God.
Mhm.
Like I have to, like, even if I have to say it, like I said, that is exactly what I say when I feel those emotions about things in the past with people I can't speak to or long gone, or, I never saw how they paid for what they're wrong or they look like they're doing good. It's like when those emotions come up, I literally have to say like, God, help me forgive. Like help me to forgive, but I'm going to add like and heal, because I do think like that's a great point. It's like there is more healing to be done, but that's some of those things is like it's healing. I've
Mhm.
wrapped my head around is going to be a lifetime of healing, but as long as I know how to work through it with God, then I know it can be done, and so it's not ever where it's like, oh, there's no more work to be done in that area. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
like I'm
Yeah.
okay with that, because life is just that. It's like continuous work we'll do until God calls us home. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
And also, when you give it to God, what you think might take a lifetime, He might wrap that up real quick for you.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Just is giving it to Him, and like
Yeah.
just like what He can do for healing, like a healing that I never thought that I would get.
Mhm.
God came out of nowhere. It took like 20 something years, but when I got it, 'cause I had
Yeah.
just kind of was like, I never not wanted it, but it was just like the way reality is looking, I'm never gonna
Yeah.
get this. And so I have to figure out a way to like be able to like move on and not get stuck, which is another reason why like it is for you because a lot of
Yeah.
people get stuck. Like I was talking with a client earlier and she also made me think about things that I've heard and things I've also seen in my family, how when family conflicts come up, because family can beef and it goes deep and it goes way back. And she was being funny. She was like, they're like 60 years old talking about something that happened when they were 4. I was like, yo, they carrying half a century worth of
Hmm.
resentment, right? And so it's like when you put it like that, that sounds ridiculous.
Yes.
Half a century?
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on. We gotta let
And
it
I
go.
think, yes, and I think you bringing up the resentment piece, that's something that I figure that I've noticed. It's
Mhm.
like, and I think that's why, going back to the question, like, how is forgiveness for you and not the other person, is because
Yes.
it like, along with it being like my gift of freedom to myself, it's like I don't, like when we hold on to these things, it's like it causes the resentment and the bitterness to just fester within us, and then it's, people pick up on your energy. So it's like things, they, it have like it starts to spill out into the world around you in your present moment. And so when you're looking, and it's like it looked like they're moving on, like they're good, but I'm still like caught up in this tornado of like everything, the chaos that's happened. And it's like now it's spilling over in my relationship with my daughter and my relationship with my mother. And these are people that don't even have nothing to do with that particular thing, but it's because I've got resentment built up about these things from the past, which I think is why,
Yeah.
scripture tells us you have to let go of the things of the past. You know what I mean? Like we can't just meditate on the things of the past. And I don't know the scripture, but the scripture where it's like Paul is like, think of things that are good,
And
you know,
lovely.
and
Yes.
lovely. Yes. And it's like
Yeah.
meditate on those things, because when we just sit and fester in those negative emotions, those negative thoughts, it's like you don't realize it, but it's affecting your other relationships. And so even in scripture, there's so many times that forgiveness is talked about.
Mhm.
And, Jesus, has said several times, he told people like, okay, like forgive others so that you can be forgiven.
Yes.
And so I'm like, with that alone, helps me to know like this forgiveness thing is something I have to keep journeying with, and I have to, I have to process it. I have to get through it because I do want to I do want to be forgiven. I haven't lived, it's not like I've never wronged anyone. It's like
Right.
I can only imagine how many people are like out there and it's like I wronged them in some way and they might be holding on to it. You know what I mean? The same way I'm holding on to something that someone else wronged me with, So it's like to think of the fact that it's like even Jesus told us like you have to forgive in order to be forgiven. Like that alone is a huge like motivator for me
Yep.
to
I was
just
gonna
be
say
like,
that's a
let
huge
me do
incentive.
this. I need to do this thing. I need to forgive. So it's like
Absolutely.
all these areas where it's like there's forgiveness. I still need to figure out how to, add to this space in my life. It's definitely like something I'm trying to champion because it's like I want those blessings. I'm like I want the Lord's blessings and he like Jesus said like that's what we need to do. So for me I'm like that was like a path. You need to do this. Like if you want to be forgiven you need to forgive. So it's like
Suggestion.
whatever your measure is for someone else, that's going to be God's measure for you. So it's like there's grace that needs to be given all around.
All around. And
Yeah,
another key point that I'm taking away from what you're saying is that forgiveness is not one size fits all.
it's not. Yeah,
Every like experience that we have is not the same. We're not going to react the same.
yeah,
Some things like we could just get over it, the random accident versus someone who's really close to you who you had higher expectations for.
yeah.
Like that, and that's when it hits different, when it goes deep, especially when it's not something you think about a person. And I also think sometimes when stuff hits deep, sometimes it's us, and I'm speaking from my experience, right? Like, when I think
Hmm.
about some of the times where I felt most betrayed or hurt, and it was by someone that I cared about very deeply, even in friendship. This is someone I never expected them to do that to me. However,
Hmm.
when I think about their track record, when I think about the data, that's on me. It was on me because I've seen their character. I've seen some of their fruit.
Yeah.
So why did I think I was exempt?
Hmm. But I think I was the exception, not the rule.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Why did
yeah.
I think I was the exception when this person has done this more than once? So for
Hmm.
me, that was part of my own naivete. That doesn't dismiss that what they did to me was, as we would say back in the day, that was dirty. They did me dirty, right?
Yeah, yeah.
um, where because I didn't have data, but that's part of that the programming I had around forgiveness.
Hmm.
And that, well, they didn't do it to you. Why are you acting like that? Da, da, da. Their characters right there. We seen their track record. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And so that did allow me to put myself in spaces and places with people that may have been emotionally dangerous.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you talking about the forgiveness. You know how I did a quick little search. How many times is
Yeah.
forgiveness mentioned in the Bible?
Like 100, like right, like over,
So
like
it
100
depends.
times
It says
through the
King
whole Bible.
version is
Uh
either
huh.
between like 95 to 100. IV has over 120,
Yeah.
and the English Standard Version has like 110. So yeah, it's in there, y'all.
Yeah.
So, and
It's all up into that. And then if we even think about Jesus's whole journey and like part of like his life, it was like that's a lot of what he was teaching. Even in his dying breath, he's like, Lord, forgive them for they know not what they do. And I'm like, well, are you kidding me? It's the world against him, basically. And he still found a way.
Courtney, that was so
And
good.
I'm like, and honestly, if we think about, if I turn around the way, like when I'm struggling with forgiveness, right? And it's
Mhm.
like, no, they wronged me. Like I could never forgive them. Cause I do have those moments where I'm like, I don't even think they deserve my forgiveness, because X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
But when I think about the ways in which I've betrayed Jesus, when I've done things
Oh,
that were against what I knew God was telling me to do.
oh, Courtney.
How many times have I turned my back on God and then came back and been like, oh, okay, with no changed behavior because then I turned around and did it again. You know what I mean? And
Ew,
what did he say?
yeah.
I'll forgive you 70 times 7. Now, he didn't say necessarily we had to, but he said, well, no, he did, right? Didn't he say
Yeah,
that?
he was he talking to Paul then
Yeah,
too?
because somebody asked, how many times do I have to forgive? So, like how many times do we have to forgive our neighbor if they like wronged us? So, I mean, when I take it and I look at it from that perspective of like kind of me being the one who needs the forgiveness,
Yeah.
like then it just kind of changes the whole thing. It adds to how I understand forgiveness and why I understand
Mhm.
it's for me. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And like there's obviously two sides to it, like we've already talked about, like
Mhm.
the other part, like if we holding on to it, how it poisons us. But then, from the outside looking in, it's like sometimes, I mean, honestly, like there are things that I feel like I've done and I'm like, I hope I need that forgiveness from someone. Like I'm saying I'm sorry and I mean it. And it's like they're struggling to forgive me and how much that hurt. You know what I mean? Cause it's like, I really, really did not mean to, or you know what I mean? Hurt
Yep.
someone in that way.
Yep.
And
And we
so,
can hurt people deeply on accident.
yes, yes.
So,
What's the saying? The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
wait a minute, say that again?
Isn't that like a saying? Like the road to hell was paved with good intentions. Like people with all their good intentions.
I've heard it before, but not that many times, Courtney. And I'm like, That's somebody who was like, forget you and your intentions. That's what I heard. You and your intentions can go to hell. Is what this thing.
That's like, oh, there's no forgiveness coming from there. It's like, yeah, okay, your intentions.
Goodness.
And
Oh,
I've been there. And I've been there though. I've been like, yeah. When they're like, I
yeah.
didn't intend to, it's like, yeah, okay.
Oh
But
my
I still got
goodness.
hurt. So
Oh my goodness. Oh, I forgot I was gonna say something, but I'm gonna move us right along. That was that was good. Okay, so let's dig a little bit more into this resentment and really how it
hmm
impacts us mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Right? Like
yeah.
I said, and we were naturally going there, but I want us to dive in a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, I can
So
start like,
I was
mentally
gonna say
on
I
mine
can
though. Go ahead.
it doesn't because like I everything that I'm, coming with is like just my personal like views, like what I've learned as I'm journeying through. Because like I said, I don't have forgiveness figured out and I struggle with it, but I realize it's something, it's a struggle that I need to go through. You know what I mean? So, but with the resentment piece and those, negative emotions and all of that,
Mhm.
I think like I see that it like affects the biggest thing is it affects my relationship with like my daughter. You know what I mean? So it's like because I'm trying to teach her, I want her to do better. So when things happen and she's been with me for like some of these deep hurts, it's like it didn't just hurt me. And I think that's why
Yeah.
it's hard for me with certain things to just like forgive and like not have any residual emotions around it because I'm like I saw how it hurt her and I saw how she had to process it. And then she, and her being, the only child, and it's like just me and her, it's like she's trying to be strong because she can see I'm breaking, you know what I mean? So then, but the things I want her to learn, and I try and teach her in those moments was like,
Yeah.
you have to let go. Like you have to be able to forgive. Like you can, and I tell her, and it's fine. You can be upset and you can be
Uh-huh.
hurt and you can be angry and it's not fair and that's not okay that they did that. It's not okay that they hurt you in this way and but I'm like, but you have to forgive because I'm like, if you can figure it out or start to process it, start to have a healthy relationship, I guess, with forgiveness now, then it's only going to be so much, it's going to propel her and she's going to be so much better prepared for the world, as she gets older. And one thing my mom said, and it's like the simplest thing, and I'm like, it's not, it wasn't
Yeah.
like this huge gem, but, she told me, she was like, the greatest thing you can do for yourself is learn to let it go.
Girl, that's huge.
Just
That is a
let
big
it
gem.
learn to like release situations and release people And like she was like, and not that it's like an easy thing to do, but she was like, but it is something you have to learn to do. And she was like, and when you learn, like as you learn to do that, it does help to just put you in a better space when it comes to those moments when you need to forgive,
Mhm.
where it's like you're not lingering as long. Because I've learned how to let these things go. And I hate to say it, because everybody's like, don't, when it's these offenses, don't take it personal. And I'm like, well, if I don't need to
Yeah,
take it personal, then why does it
yeah.
feel so personal? Like,
'Cause
why
it
am I hurt?
because it is personal, but I think what they're really saying is try not to internalize it so deeply that it changes you and your character. I think
Yes.
that's what they mean. And
Yeah.
Courtney, as I was listening to you, I wonder as you're what you're referencing and you keep bringing up your daughter, right? Like, is there a part of you that needs to forgive you? Because
So I was waiting for, I think when you were talking about something earlier, it
uh
kind of touched into that. And I was like, oh yes, because that is the biggest part for
okay.
me. That's the biggest struggle I have with forgiveness is forgiving myself
So add
because
yourself to that prayer list.
yes, it's like the biggest, and I feel like, that could even be tied to like the struggle I have with forgiveness in general because I do feel like I'm harder on myself. I know that I am. Like like I've been told that and I've realized that and I'm a huge overthinker for sure, but it's like outside of like things cuz I mean even when I just, going through therapy and like processing like traumas and stuff from like earlier on in life, what I realized was like even as an adult, I was blaming myself for things that happened when I was younger. And it's like you're a child. Like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like you can't like what possibly could you have done? You know what to really
Ask for that, to warrant that, to deserve that, nothing,
yeah.
because you was probably
Or to
minding your
even
business.
know that like this isn't necessarily safe, even though you may have had a thought like, wait, this doesn't seem right. So it's like why but thoughts is like I'm getting older, like why wouldn't you just leave? Like why wouldn't you just go say something?
So
Why
now
wouldn't you
you
tell your
judging
mom?
yourself
Yeah.
when
So
you did the best that you could, because if you
yeah,
knew better, you
right.
would have done it. And so this is why I talk with clients a lot about not shoulding on themselves, right? Because should implies that you did something or you knew something and you didn't act.
Yeah.
You didn't. You
Yeah.
didn't, right? And I think when we look at it now with our big wisdom and lived
Mhm.
experiences, all I needed to do was this, that, and this, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you know that now because you went through it.
because you've had time to grow from that and to gain wisdom that you didn't have in that moment.
And that's why we can should on ourselves and we have to
Exactly.
it. It's like it's the person who watches the thing play out and we're critical of it. All you
Mhm.
gotta do is this. Yeah, you know that because you watched the tape back.
Exactly. Yep. And I think we even do that with like stories in the Bible when you're like, how could they not? Like, and it's like they were living through it. Like we know
Listen.
how the story ends. They didn't know. And that's us now. It's like,
Yeah.
like we don't know how our story ends. Like we're living through it. So there's so much grace that I realize I have to give myself because I think that is my biggest struggle with the unforgiveness is not forgiving myself. You know what I mean? I'm like, I know that there's a freedom I can give myself with the forgiveness, but it's like, but what do you like? How do you manage that when it's like you're not giving yourself the forgiveness that you're trying to give others? Because I can think of like in those moments how you mentioned before, like it was like, oh no, I saw like there was a few things I saw that was like, hey, probably shouldn't as an adult, like you probably shouldn't be over here. This probably isn't the best person to trust right now. And so I've realized that I didn't even really realize honestly until like maybe within this past like 2 years or so that
Mhm.
it was like I was not forgiving myself. That it was like I needed to forgive myself for some of these ways, especially when it comes to my daughter.
Mhm.
Because, just a transparent moment, I guess, but her dad is not in her life.
Yeah.
And he had kids when I met him and he wasn't in their life. But like we said, I thought
Okay.
I was the exception, So
Okay.
it's like,
That's real.
well,
But
You
and
know what I
God
mean?
God do be delivering people, but then it's like, are we paying attention to their fruit and what's right in front of
Exactly.
us? Yeah.
So fast forward now, I have a kid and he's not in her life. And so she struggles with that whole thing of like not having a father figure in her life and then having one and then that not working out. So now, you know what I mean? So it's like, and this is someone else I brought into her life. You know what I mean? Because I usually don't let people get that close to her. And then it's like, I trust this person to get close to her. And then that ends up not working out. And so now she's heartbroken in a way that I just can't explain, like to watch. Like, I'm like, if it's me going through the heartbreak, it's like, yes, like I'm hurt and I'm toughing it out and I'm trying to put a face on every single day. But to like see your kid going through it and having those moments where she opens up about how much it hurt and she's crying and it's like, and I can't take that, I can't take that pain away, you know? And so it's like that's the thing that's like heavy on me when it comes. I'm trying not to get emotional, but when it comes to like being forgiving myself because I'm like
Yeah.
I did that, like I did it again. Like I picked him and he wasn't a great guy, and then I bring someone else and that doesn't work. Not that they weren't that person wasn't a good person. It's like sometimes
It
things just
wasn't your
don't work
person.
out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so, but there's still hurt there,
There's gonna
and it's
be
like yeah, and so it's just that's the part. I think that's really deep for me. The forgiving myself
yeah,
is really, really deep for me. And that's my biggest struggle because I realized like I don't, and you know how I said I realized it like 2 years ago. It's like because I was like still like things that I want for my future. You know what I mean? Like I
mhm,
still want to have like relationships and like,
you
get
will.
married one day and things like that. But I realized that I wasn't forgiving myself because I don't trust myself in those situations. It's like, how do you want these things? But it's like, I was like, but I don't trust my judgment in those situations. So I stay clear of them. Like, if you're not in Wegmans or at PG on some Wednesdays and Sundays, you probably not going to see me, bruh. Like, you know what I mean?
You know, I'm also laughing because I messaged you after church. You was like, "'Cause I'm in Wegmans."
So you stay in Wegmans, child.
But Wegmans is bomb. And look, I need to get Wegmans to sponsor this episode because we definitely giving them publicity right now.
I'm just like, yeah, but I'm like, that's a huge thing for me. I'm just
This
like,
is why you and I have our getting outside bucket list, right? And
yes,
we gonna get
we
outside
got to get
later
it out the
today.
chat though. We got to get it out the chat.
We
Like,
gotta get it out the chat into real life. And we're gonna do that today. We're doing one today. But really quick, friend, I want to love on you a little bit if you will allow me. Because I hear you punishing and blaming yourself.
mhm.
And it's not warranted. You didn't intentionally go out there and pick to get involved with somebody knowing it wasn't gonna work out, right? Like, and her dad, that's one thing. We young, we make this is where the lived experience come in.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
there was no way you would not have gone forward in this other relationship if you knew it wasn't going to work out. You didn't knowingly make a
yeah,
bad choice. You didn't knowingly say my daughter's heart is going to get broken because she's going to get attached the same way that I will, and I'm going to do it anyway. That's
yeah,
not what happened, right? Like,
yeah,
and again, that's you judging you knowing the outcome.
yeah,
When what you're experiencing, I mean, or what you're describing is a normal human lived experiences, and that this is what comes with relationship attachments and when they don't work out. And whether you realize it or not, you're teaching your daughter resilience. But you steering clear is not helping you heal. It's just keeping you where you are.
yeah,
And you're not giving yourself the opportunity to say, I do trust myself, or you're basing your self trust on two situations. When
yeah.
you have a whole, like, I don't know how many of thousands and hundreds of thousands of data points that suggest you can make good decisions.
But
And
you know how you have those. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish. No, because
and
I'm going to
you
come back
that
to that.
to choose better. Or maybe whatever you didn't do, like bring some friends in, let your family meet them sooner. Like some of those things, do
Yeah.
those things. Because when we be
No,
feeling
yeah.
what we feeling and the dopamine is popping off and the oxytocin and the all the other good hormones that and chemicals that go off in our body and brain when we're like in new love, fresh love, and excited. Like
Yeah.
you can't see that's where others can. And we need to bring in our we gotta bring in our reinforcement.
Yes. No, yeah. And when you were talking about those data points that point to like the positive, I focus on the data points that point to the negative.
Exactly.
And so and that is something I did even when I was younger because again, when I was growing up, my dad wasn't in my life. Now my mom met my stepdad when I was like 4, and he's been in my life ever since. He's
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah.
So I mean to take on someone else's kid and raise me like his own, never said my stepdaughter, always introduces me from then till now, one of his daughters, you know what I mean? So, but I took, I can remember being younger and having those thoughts because I knew he was my stepdad and I knew who my dad was.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in and out a bit, and then at 12, I didn't hear from him or see him again until I was like 22 and pregnant with Chloe. There was no contact. And it was crazy because sometimes I would go to my grandma's or my aunts and they'd be like, "Oh, I saw your dad." Because we're from a small little town. "I saw your dad at the grocery store here or there." And I'm just like,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen him. I haven't heard from him, But
I resonate with that.
but I had these thoughts when I was younger, and I kid you not, Jeannie, it like trailed me all the way into like late 20s, early 30s, and it still pops in every now and then, even now. But the thought that, like, if your own father cannot find a reason to love you,
Mm,
then why would you think anyone else could? I didn't even think I deserved it for the longest. So anyone that showed me any kind of attention, especially from a male, because that was the biggest gap in me was my dad not
the
being
biggest
there.
love deficit.
I just was kind of like, oh, wait, like maybe, maybe they can love me. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so that is like that's like the biggest data point I would come back to. So even in these relationships, as you get older and they in and out, it starts off good and then it dwindles and it's like, see, told you they couldn't love you, told you weren't lovable, like told you.
So what you're describing, Courtney, is what we do unconsciously, and we
Mhm.
recreate patterns of hurt we've experienced in other parts of our lives.
Mhm.
Repetition compulsion is what and it's unconscious. But
Yeah.
also, it's linked to core beliefs. And I heard you say you had a core belief about not being deserving, not being lovable, based on something that happened, something real that happened, right? But that was the
Mhm.
absence of your father, which created this love deficit that followed you. Now, where I'm going to challenge you is this is what I mean when I say like younger versions of us make up these stories and we fill it in, we fill in blanks, right? So you took on the narrative that it was something about you that made you unlovable. When really a man not showing up for his child, that's a reflection of him,
Yep.
his stuff, and his hurt. And if
Yep.
no one knows you believe that, they can't correct that and pour into you. Because that's
Yep.
something, one, that's really hard to admit to yourself. Two, say out loud. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And so, like you said, how could you make a good decision about or good decisions about dating if you got this belief in here that
Yeah.
you've not fully come to terms with, I'll say, right? Like
Exactly.
to say,
Yeah.
this is what's guiding it, and you don't have that awareness, and it doesn't come until later. But now
Yeah.
that you know this, Courtney, that that's
Mhm.
what it is, and that that's what your love deficit was about, that's what allowed you to get into these relationships that were consistent with your core beliefs. So that meant that you went forward towards the unhealthy, unavailable people. And in some
Yeah.
instances, you were trying to work through your father wound. You were probably going towards men that were like your father or like they had that unavailability.
Even like unconsciously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all unconscious,
Yeah.
trying prove that you are lovable. And it
Yep.
really came from your father. But now that you know that, and you are now an expert in identifying these unhealthy behaviors in men as well as even yourself to do something different. So this is where I say I want to speak life into you and to empower you. You have a ton of data points on yourself and human
Yeah.
behavior that you can use to make better choices about dating. And when in doubt, hey girl,
I know, right?
I'm having this cookout, or come with me to this cookout. I want you to check him out. You
Exactly.
know I'ma
And
come.
for
And
sure,
you
I
know I
know
will watch or whatever whatever the thing is, and now I
I
get
would
it.
just be looking so I can like see your different looks. So I can be like, oh, wait,
Girl, I'll be having a whole conversation and analyzing the mess out of him, and he will have no idea. And if he can't take it, he not your person. And I
right,
think sometimes
right,
we don't wanna involve family and friends because in our heart of hearts we know, but we still want to do what we want to do. So then that means we're choosing
exactly,
the chaos that's about to come. And we gotta accept that that's what I'm doing. And when it
exactly,
come out to be that way, Imma have a little talk with myself and Jesus.
exactly, exactly. And one of my biggest triumphs, I think, when it comes to forgiveness is
Mm,
forgiving my dad. And I think I realized I had to start.
yes,
It
ma'am.
had to start with him
Yes.
because, I said we had all that time where we didn't speak. And then when we
Uh-huh.
did finally reconnect, he told me, like, if you have any questions about anything, we can have a conversation. Like, we can talk about it. And do you
Wow.
know, I was like, no. I mean, I had a relationship with him and, we would talk. It wasn't like we weren't super close, but
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't even want to, I don't want to go there,
Yeah,
So
that worked.
I was. And for years and years, I literally was like, no. But then, like 2021, I think it was like 2021, I called him because I was just like, it's just, the pattern. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, I keep having this, the Holy Spirit, like, just bringing that conversation back, popping
You
that
didn't
conversation.
learn
When
the
he
lesson
said,
yet.
like, if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it, So I was like, I messaged him, I asked him if we could talk about it. And he was super open and he came with nothing but accountability.
Oh,
Like he didn't mention he actually was like, because one fear I had is I'm very protective of like the people I love, very,
mhm.
and my mom is like,
Don't
she
play with
can,
mama.
yes, don't play with my mom. Like I'm just like, that woman is like the best, So I'm like, even though she can get on my nerves, I'm like, she's still the best person.
Yeah.
So I was afraid he was going to say something about her keeping me from him. And I was like, if he says anything about my mom, like that's it for me and him. And
Mm.
I just I didn't want that. You know what I mean? So,
Girl, you
but
was
he
about to
didn't.
sabotage your own healing if he was,
I
and God knew
was.
you. So thank you, Father.
Yes, and he didn't. He was like he actually just offered it up in starting the conversation. Like he was like, I just want you to know, your mom did nothing wrong. Everything that she did was for you to protect you and to like make sure that I was good, And so he was like, I don't blame her for anything. And he just, explained that, like you said, he just was not in a space where I was his priority. Other things were his
Mm,
priority.
mm.
And he was like, and he was sorry. We cried, and it's just, but it's like, we can't go back.
No,
He's like,
yeah.
we can't change that, but it's like, how do we move forward? And that's what I've been learning to do with him is move forward. And so honestly, even in that, like that voice that I heard so much as a little girl of not being lovable, like with him not even knowing that. He mentioned it in the conversation. He was like,
Mm.
you are the most lovable person. Like that is completely my loss. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
reaffirmed those things without me even saying like these are things I was dealing with.
Girl, I
Thought
hear God
processes.
all in that.
It was. It was. And that's my biggest triumph, I think, when it comes to forgiveness, because even when I think back and I'm like, dang, like I really wish he had been there when I was little because he could play the piano and I want to play the piano so bad. And I always think about if
Is
he was in my life, I would,
this where your musical talent and stuff come from? I'm
Oh
still
yeah,
waiting
no,
on your solo at church, but go ahead.
I know. I'm so nervous, but he does it. He plays the piano and sings at churches, back home where we're from in
Yeah.
North Carolina. So every time I go see him when I'm back home,
Huh?
he has a room downstairs in the basement, karaoke machine set up with his piano, and we be down there, and I'll be like, oh, goodness, how am I gonna get out of here? Because he'll be down there for hours. We'll be down there for hours, and he'll be
Love
like, I
that.
wrote a new song, and you want to do some karaoke? So it's definitely from him.
Love that. And Courtney, because I feel like, girl, this is like 3 episodes in one. We talk about dating, we talk
No.
about father
I
going
know. I
to
was like, we got
good.
to tie it back to forgiveness because we about to go down a whole different path.
Listen, I keep telling people, like, I'm gonna have you back for another episode because this is so good. But like what I'm hearing too, like when we think a person's absence, we can only think about like our understanding and we fill it in and we have no idea what we're being protected from. And when
Yes.
God doesn't allow things and people to be in our life, it feels like punishment because there is pain, but that pain is significantly less than what we would be subjected to if they were in our life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so we can be thankful for what God does and that He gives answers, right? Like when we obey and we do what God says and we trust God's timing, we get answers. We get
Yes.
clarity. But when we get involved, child, we be sabotaging all the stuff
Every single time.
every single time. So I think this is a good transition, right? Because the way that you
Mhm.
just talked about your father and like your spirit got lighter, I can
Mhm.
see the peace in you,
Yes.
right? So like what's the connection between forgiveness and inner peace, in your opinion?
Think for me, it's just that knowing that, like, because I'm like, even with I feel like the peace that I feel even with that situation is because I know how many times I prayed and asked God to help me in that, or to help me to forgive, or help that relationship, or what, like I needed some type of like healing within that situation, and then he brought it. So I think the tie for me is that it makes me feel closer to God. Like I feel like when I feel absolute peace, those moments when I feel peace, how people are like, like, how do you know God is like with you or
Yeah,
in the situation? And it's like the only thing that I've ever been able, it's not like I don't hear God audibly, you know what I mean? But I do know, like, in different things, I've been in the military, I've been in different situations where it's like, it's a lot of things, a lot of chaos happening,
yeah,
but I felt a peace. And there was like, and it's unexplained. You know what I mean? And so that unexplained peace has always been for me to know, like, that's God. Like, he's like, God is like right by me. Right. And so I think like my connection with the forgiveness and the inner peace is that it's like I'm closer to God in doing that, because I can remember, like I said, how much I prayed, as a little girl, like all you want really as a little girl is like, that's one of the biggest relationships I want in my life is a relationship with my father. You know what I mean? So, and my mom always told me growing up, because obviously we talked, I didn't tell her everything I was thinking. Like, she didn't even know I had that negative thought,
of course.
like being unlovable, until I was um like 17. I remember I had a whole meltdown, and her and my sisters, we were like in the kitchen, and I like said it out loud because I think somehow it came up. I didn't have a boyfriend in high school. I
Mhm.
didn't date in like high school. I didn't, you know what I mean? And it was just kind of like, it came up in some way, and I said it. I was like, why would anyone want to date me? My own dad won't be here. And it's like, and I'm not lovable. And it just all started flowing out, and I was crying, and we were all crying. So,
Yes, girl, I can
but
only imagine, and I seen how close y'all are.
yes. And so they
Yeah,
were like, it was like a shock for her, but it's like that, to know, like, how much, to know personally how much I prayed for that and asked for that. And then to see it come about, and see it come about because I'm on my journey of forgiveness, because I'm knowing I need to forgive him in order to move forward and, walk through life and, just have those things that I'm praying for. trust those situations. Like, I'm like, I know I have to forgive, from this deeper part. And so to like walk through that and then do the forgiveness thing and feel the peace that comes with it, that's like the connection for me with the inner peace is like God, only God could do that. Like, I'm like, my dad couldn't have done that, like, of his own doing. I think the Holy Spirit told him, in that moment when we first reconnected, it was that first conversation. He was like, if you want to talk about anything, and then me being as stubborn as I am, just this inkling for years, like, you need to have the conversation. You need to have the conversation. Go ahead and have the conversation.
Imagine the fear and rejection, because if you're already feeling that way,
Yeah,
what will happen if you go have this conversation and it's confirmed?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I can see why you maybe have avoided it. Courtney, this is so good, and I'm learning so much about you. And that like we actually have more stuff in common
And we know,
than
yeah.
we know, and it's good. Okay, so we've been talking about forgiveness and the need to give some of it to yourself, right? So
Mhm.
when you think about yourself and your expertise and your lived experiences, right?
Yeah.
What are some or no, 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 Imma shift. If
Okay.
you heard somebody's story
Mhm.
that was very similar to yours, what advice would you give them on forgiving self and self-compassion?
The same thing that I give my daughter, because
Okay.
our journeys are kind of the same in that. But honestly, what I'm learning is that you have to take it one day at a time. It's like you have to meet the day's like challenges as they like within the day. And I'm a huge planner. So I'm always trying to think like, okay, and then if this happens and that happens, and then, then I can do this or I can do that. And it's exhausting.
Mhm.
But when it comes to
That's not
like,
how life works, because it's something bound to come up that's not in your scenario.
it's yes. And I think like from my lived experience when it comes to this forgiveness journey, like the advice that I would give someone else hearing their story and like, their struggles with it is to just like to keep going, like
Mhm.
keep on the journey of forgiveness, because I feel like in those moments where you do have that moment where it's like this forgiveness, this situation like turned around because I forgave and I felt that peace or whatever it might be, it's like it's so worth it. You know what I mean? It's just worth it to be able to like that's like a huge weight that was lifted off of me to be able to forgive my dad and for him to still be on this side of heaven for me to, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it would be different. I feel like that's why it's different for everyone because I can't imagine people who have like have that heaviness and it's like they're not able to talk through something because some people are not here anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of inner things that have to be done with that. But all I know is like that you keep on the journey, you keep on going through the struggle because it does feel like a struggle, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, but you're not in it by yourself. Like, I promise you, God is with you. God is in it with you. Like, you just have to lean into Him, like,
Yeah.
more and more. It is like you have to change, like, your thoughts. It's like, I had to recognize when those negative thoughts were coming up, and I had to, like, say a truth behind it, like an
Yes.
opposite truth. Like, it's so if it's like, oh, you're not, see, this happened because you're not lovable, then it's like, I'm a daughter of the King so you know where Chloe got that from. I'm
Yes.
a daughter of the king, like, and God does, you know what I mean? Like, God didn't say that about me. It's like, I have to think, like, what did God say about me? Did God say I'm not lovable? You know what I mean? And that takes being in the word, reading your scriptures, you know what I mean? So it's like, you have to have that relationship with God. But I think that that's a huge part of being able to forgive is to have that relationship with God who gives you the strength to forgive because it's like I can't forgive out of my own strength. I know that that's directly something that God, gives to me and then I give it out to others, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I can't do it out my own strength.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I think I can say and I feel like it's like it should be so much deeper, but it's like you got to keep going. You
Yeah.
just have to keep working through it.
Yeah.
And it's okay if it takes like years and years, and it's okay if you keep coming back to it. If you feel like, oh, I thought I was over it, and then you find out you're not. It's like that's normal. That's life,
And there's different
and
layers
it's a human
sometimes.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's different layers to it. And I love what you described because that's definitely some of the things that I work with my clients on when we have a negative core belief or negative thoughts to
Hmm.
challenge it. Because sometimes we have thoughts. Thoughts are not facts. And that's
Exactly.
what we have to remember. Like we gotta check it. We gotta check
Yeah.
the facts and
Yeah.
or tell ourselves truths about it. That's not true. And I heard you talk about identity and how important it is to be rooted in your identity as a son, as a daughter of the king, so that when the
Yes.
enemy gets in your mind and try to tell you things, and when your earthly experiences like really challenge you spiritually, right, or even
Yeah.
attack you, and just like trying to derail you because we know that's what the enemy came to do, kill, steal, and destroy, right? All that chaos,
Exactly.
right? Like
Yep.
have to counter it with something. So I heard challenging you with truth and then just remembering who you are and whose you are.
And
That
who
this
you are.
is the thing of identity. And when we're not clear about that, that's how we are open to go out and seek love in these wrong places and spaces. And Lord knows I've done it, child. And I'm glad I've been delivered. And my identity has been a huge, 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 huge part of that. So
Yes.
learning how to trust again, what does
Mm.
that look like without being naive?
Ooh. You know what? If you know, you can let me know because I'm still figuring it out.
Okay, I think that's one of those things that's so real what you said. It's ongoing, right? And just like you said, forgiveness, I think like forgiveness is not one size fits all, neither is trust. But that's where discernment comes in, the intimate relationship with God, and being tuned in and tapped into self. Where if something or someone enters into your life, pay attention to what you feel. Is it
Exactly.
giving anxiety? Are you in it? Not the good lovey-dovey butterflies, right? Like,
Right.
does it make your stomach hurt? Do you feel exhausted? Do you
Yeah.
feel insecure? If it's bringing up these types of negative things,
Hmm.
we need to move away from it. That's not something. If it don't feel right, don't be
It's
silent.
okay to like back up and be like, whoa, wait, let me see what this is about. Like, let me see, because sometimes
Curiosity.
you can, yes, you can tell yourself, like, oh, I'm just doing too much. Yeah, because sometimes literally I will use the fact that that I have issues with like trusting people as
Mm-hmm.
the reason as to why I feel the way I feel about a situation. It's like, well, it's probably just because you don't trust nobody. So it's like, but it's like
That's
sometimes,
emotional reasoning because I feel this way. This has to be true. When no,
yeah,
this is my stuff and I'm
yeah,
projecting it into the
exactly.
situation. That's what I call making a me issue a we issue when it's
Hmm.
my stuff. Because I listen,
Hmm.
I'll label that because I've lived it, and that's what I started calling it. And it's very simple though, but we do this all of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, the trusting thing, it takes time, but really paying attention to what you're feeling in your spirit. And sometimes when people are not trustworthy, like the track record, when you meet people, people are
Hmm.
telling you how they are,
Yeah.
showing you,
Yep.
analyzing.
I tell my daughter that all the time. What's that saying? Was it
When they tell you how you
Maya Angelou? Is she saying like when someone shows you who they are, believe them?
believe them, and she says the one about it's not necessarily what you people may not remember what you say, but they remember how you make
Okay.
them feel. I think that is a duo to
Yeah.
help with trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
then I think to turn the trust back around, like, and tying it into the forgiveness and like not the trust of like not trusting yourself,
Mm,
because like that's where I'm currently at. Like, I'm trying to get better at that, is like the trusting myself piece. And I think in that learning, like having that breakthrough of forgiveness within myself, then
mhm.
that's how I'll learn. I guess that's how I'll be gain my own trust back. I
Yeah.
guess,
Yourself opportunity to practice. And do
definitely.
it lower risk to build up the comfort in it. Like I'm not saying just
Yeah,
go out there, be like, I'm open to love and just
exactly.
with no intentionality, no structure, just
Yeah.
no, 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 no.
But yes, and it's like working through that, like the unforgiveness that I have for myself,
Mhm.
and then regaining my own trust in certain areas of my life. I know that it's a process, and that I'm gonna just walk through it. And but it's like, I think what I have to realize is like, I can't fix one thing. It's like, oh, well, I'll wait until I forgive myself and then I'll trust myself in that situation. It's like, it's going to go like hand in hand. Like, I'm going to have to go through this journey of forgiving myself while trusting myself back in these spaces where I've not made the best decisions. And one scripture, just to bring up one that I feel like has helped me. I think it helps with unforgiveness in general, but for me, I always just internalize it for like that forgiveness I need for myself, is that if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. And that's 1 John 1:9. And so that's helped me to just realize that God is forgiving. You know what I mean? So it's like, if God will forgive me of all my transgressions, then I should be able to forgive myself, because I even have a deeper understanding of how I got in those situations. And it wasn't, like you said, I didn't willfully, put myself in some situations. It's like things just happen. So it's like, it helps me to just realize that I am forgivable. I am lovable and I am forgiven. So it's like, if God's not holding it against me,
Yep.
then why am I holding it against myself?
Oh, that's so good, Courtney.
Yeah.
That's so good. And as you were talking, I be hearing the music. I heard Madison Ryan Ward "Purify Me," and I think you
Yes.
put me on to that song,
Yes.
or you sent me "Chosen," which put me down the rabbit hole on the album.
So that album. Yeah.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
that album because I was on the other one. But
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, yes, I need you to purify me." That's so right.
Hmm.
Oh, that's so good. So, to wrap us up, if you could leave our audience with one powerful truth to help them rise and thrive, what would it be?
Oh, and then and I should have thought about this, but
You're not the first person I was like, "Dang, I wish I thought about this."
I wish I like
You
had
been
something.
dropping
I feel
gems.
like I feel like I always want, like, it's like, oh, this has to be something like phenomenal.
It doesn't. You've been dropping gems this
And
whole time.
it's honestly, like, it's honestly not, but you said a gem, like a powerful thing that will help them rise and thrive.
Mhm.
And so I will honestly say that in everything that you do,
Mhm.
every challenge, every venture, whatever it might be, whatever you're going through or facing, take it to God in prayer
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
before you move on anything, no matter what it is. Like, give that space to, like, pray about it,
Mhm.
and, like, just be silent and, like, wait for the Holy Spirit, for God to just guide you. And it's a hard thing to do, because honestly, I'm like, I don't do it all the time, but I've realized, like, that's something I have to do more. And that, because I used to hate when people are like, oh, you got to pray about it. I'm like, well, I need a step. I need you to tell me step 1, 2, and 3. And
Yes, give me
honestly,
some action items.
I'm like, the first step is to pray, and then the other steps God gives you.
See, this is why we have to be more explicit. Pray for instruction. Pray,
Hmm.
and you'll get direction. They're just telling us the thing, but that also kind of like reflects our relationship with God, right? Like
Yes.
we need to act and trust that He's gonna come through with the things.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. But I think, like, that's, when you asked it, that was like the first thing that popped in my head was like prayer. And that's
That's what you were
just,
supposed to say.
yeah, I feel like that's the biggest thing to thrive, is like to just enter into everything in life praying about it first.
Yeah. That's so good. And I'm with you on that prayer thing because I was telling somebody I feel like the old aunties and the grandmas talking about, well, you gotta
I
pray.
know.
But when you understand, it makes
Exactly.
sense,
I never thought I'd be the one to say it, because I couldn't stand that answer. I'd be like, oh
girl,
Lord, here we go.
girl. And when you said whatever you do, this how you know I'm a church girl. And words of deed do all in the name of the Lord is what went in my head. Okay, okay. Now, audience, this is what we're coming back to you. We're going to give you your homework for today. So I want you to reflect. Is there someone in your life that you need to forgive? And how is holding on to the past affecting your life presently? And then next, I want you to take action. I want you to write a letter. You do not have to send a letter. This letter is for you. Let's be clear. But I want you to write the letter. You can write as many as you need, right? Because depending on what you're holding on to or how much forgiveness you need to give. But this is to release the resentment. So you're going to write a letter for the purpose of releasing resentment. Sending the letter is completely optional because remember, it's for you. And be mindful if you out here low key trying to get your vindication and do God's work because He's going to take care of them. And then finally, I'm going to affirm you. I choose freedom over bitterness. Forgiveness is my power, not my weakness. Well, Courtney, I want to thank you again for coming and spending time with me here on Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole, where we are rising in faith and thriving in purpose. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your vulnerability. And thank you for allowing me to know you more as well as the audience.
No, yes, and thank you again. Thank you for just inviting me into this space with you to like have this conversation. And I hope that there's a lot that viewers can get just even if it's a small thing that can just help them as they move forward in forgiveness. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you for being obedient.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yes, I do.
All right. Well, sis, I love you. And to the audience, thank y'all again. And we will see you next week. If you like the merch, go to www.evolvewithdrjnicole.com. You can get your own. We have other goodies that are there for you. And yep, we'll see you Tuesday mornings. We drop YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. Take care.